Mr. Quintet, back again with some more video action for you. Today we're taking another retro joyride as we check out another one of my favorite things around here, Why It's Great. And what Why It's Great is, for those of you who are new, is I take a back issue from my collection that I love so much, and I'll tell you why I think it's awesome and why you yourself should want to check it out for your very own. And today's one, again, I'm doing a theme here this month for the month of Halloween. I'm doing all kinds of stuff where horror-related aspects are in the book. And, so I've already done stuff with zombies. I've done stuff with alien monsters. I've done stuff with ghosts. And now, next on the hit parade, vampires. Of course, you can't have Halloween without vampires. So we're going to be checking out a comic here with a vampire theme to it. But before I reveal what it is, I'm going to thank you all for joining me today and hit you up with the usual shill and say make sure to drop a like down there if you like what you hear on this, because it helps out the algorithms around here. Also, be sure to drop down some comments down there and let me know what you think about the issue or anything else you want to talk about down there. I always like hearing from the folks out there. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any of the content that's coming on around here on the regular. And if you have subscribed, share out a few links and bring in some new blood, because we always want more here than less. So that's how it goes around here. I want to thank you all again, and we'll get right into it. And today's book of choice, Captain America, number 253 from 1980. I think this might be the oldest book I've reviewed yet, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's, again, and you can see it's vampires themed, so how's that working in? How are you working Captain America and vampires? Well, we're going to find out here in a minute. So what we're going to do is get me off the screen, because we don't need to focus on me, and what we will focus on is the book. And there we go. We got Captain America 253 by John Byrne and Roger Stern and Joe Rubinstein. I like the cover here. I like the blurry effect that they kind of used on Cap to keep him out of focus. So the focus is on the rising vampire. And you see here Tomb of Blood, because it focuses on the villain from World War II, Baron Blood, who was a vampire. And so this is a great story because it not only focuses, like I said, on a vampire, but also like on Cap's past, his time in the war and things of that nature. So a really great way to tie it all into World War II, which is so significant to the character. And again, I just love the cover. It's got that whole eerie, creepy feeling. It's just the perfect touch for a Halloween type book. So very glad to get this one going. And so without ado, let's head on in and check out what's underneath that awesome Byrne cover. And here we are. We come in here. It's starting off with some horror right off the jump here. It goes, the rains wash down on the small British village not far from north of London. They are not cleansing rains. And we can see here some looks like there's been a murder. And, the doctor is showing up to, I guess, to confirm the death. And, I liked how they did this here with I like the driving rain look that Byrne puts in. I love that. I mean, it feels, you can feel like you're getting wet looking at this, and then like the hand. Look at the detail in that glove, right along the seam line, and in the way it's the way it covers the hand. Got the water running down. I just love that. This is again, this is great anatomy, but then Byrne has always been great at anatomy. So so here we are. We start off with a grisly murder, and as we come to find out from the doctor here that this is something that's been going on for a while. Doctor, to think that there's a bloody madman like the slasher running around free. What manner of man kills an innocent woman and then drains off her blood like she's a slaughterhouse pig? Oh, well, see, there you go. Drained blood, dead women. I wonder what could be the cause. And again, they say it's this slasher, and so the doctor heads over to a nearby manor owned by Lady Crichton and Lord Falsworth, who again they're going to be becoming important here in the very near future. And he kind of just talks to him about what's going on. He's checking in on his patient, who is the elderly Lord Falsworth, and they talk about what's going on with the slasher, because she wants to be kept informed. And we can see here. Fathers as well as could be expected, doctors. Thank you for asking. That medication you gave him to ease his chest, although I'm afraid he's still as stubborn as ever. And you can see right up here, here he is. And he is not at all satisfied with this belief that the slasher is just some crazed lunatic. He goes, I've told them who the slasher is, but they ignore me. Can't they see the devil has returned among us? He must be stopped. but there's not a man among them who is capable. No, the only man who can stop these murders is an ocean away. So, who's he talking about? Well, of course he's talking about Captain America. And of course, as we see here, as we head up to New York, and again, more crime. There's a robbery going on here in a liquor store, and I love how they get Cap on the page right here in the reflection on the cash register. I love that. It's a nice little touch. I mean, and look at. I'll try to close it up here. Look at that cross hatching that he did to get that in there. That is insane levels of cross hatching. I mean, that's like Gary Martin levels of cross hatching. It's just insane. Nobody does that. But there's a robbery going on, and Cap shows up, and then he just jumps in and gets to work. He just jumps in. The guy takes a blast, completely misses him. Cap clocks him. He goes, "Mister, I was dodging a lot worse than that, a lot closer than that before you were born." Just love that. The other guy runs, so Cap shows off some of his shield slinging dexterity and just whacks him down here. He goes, powered by nothing more than his good right arm. Captain America's shield ricochets down the alleyway, swiftly arching back in on the fleeing felon. So there it is, just bam, just boom, 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 boom. Showing how great he is. And then we come to what I think is probably one of the best scenes in the book. After he's been knocked down, the thug pulls out a gun, threatens Cap. He goes, I don't need the shield to avoid. I didn't need the shield to avoid your buddy's shotgun blast, and I don't need it now. If you try to shoot me, go ahead and try. But remember this: a lot of men have tried. A lot of men who failed. Unless you feel like you want to fail more than you already have, I'd advise you to hand that thing over. And then, just you can see here, and I love this. For what seems to be an eternity, the trembling hoodlum stares up into the alert blue eyes of the costumed man. Feverishly, he weighs his odds. It should be impossible for an Avenger to keep from. It should be impossible for the Avenger to keep from taking a bullet as close as he is. But this is Captain America he faces, and Captain America, it has been said, does the impossible. In the end, there is only one sane response, and he gives it up. And I just love that. Like these three panels right here. This is what makes Cap awesome. Is something like this. I remember a couple of months ago when I did my review of Superman #4 by John Byrne, and I said there was that one scene where Superman shows up to the scene of the crime, and the people are just in awe. He's almost like a rock star walking in. They're filled with hope and enthusiasm just for his mere presence. Because he's just so powerful a figure to the people, and that's what you see here with Captain America. That even the criminals, even they know. This man is not just any man. He is far above, most mere men. And I like how they played this. It was beautifully done. Roger Stern's scene here, excellent way of showing you just the kind of man that Captain America is. So villains are taken care of. Cap takes off, and he's getting changed again. And this is during the time when he was pretending to have a secret identity as Steve Rogers, working as like a advertising artist. So that's why he's got the portfolio, which also carries his uniform and shield. And he's getting a quick change because he has some other business coming up, which is right here with Bernie Rosenthal, the young woman who he begins a relationship with, I think, a couple issues before this. And so they go to see a movie. And again, there's all this stuff, where they make fun of Cap because he's a man out of time. So his old-fashioned ways stick out to people of the modern era like this. He goes, he's telling her how, you come on, admit it, Bernie. You kidding me about wanting to see an old fogies musical, but you really enjoyed Oklahoma, didn't you? And she goes, yeah, it was fun. But I think Calcutta would have been more fun. And he goes, well, I don't think I'm quite ready for that just yet. And so he goes, Steve, you are a constant puzzle to me. You're bright, witty, but your tastes are so old-fashioned. And he goes, guilty as charged, Bernie. I'm afraid I'm just an incurable nostalgia buff. I'd rather listen to the big bands than to rock. I just love that they're playing up the whole thing of like how Cap isn't with the times. He's a man out of time. I love that they played that up perfectly here. And just as things are starting to go to the amorous way, he gets a phone call from Jarvis, and there was a cable sent to Captain America, and it was in code. And here it is. He goes, Jarvis is right. It's in code. One I haven't heard since World War II. So quickly he has to leave, and you can see again. This is almost like almost like a Spider-Man related moment here where he has to send Bernie away. And you can see here, if only I could have told her, explain how I'm needed overseas. But the burden, the duty of being Captain America is something I dare not share with her. Not yet. And then, her response. Why did I lie to Steve like that? Was it just because he wouldn't confide his personal business? That boyfriend story was so childish. Oh, what's the matter with me? So again, people who are obviously very much having feelings for each other, but yet his his duties as Captain America getting in the way. Again, very very Spider-Man-esque, which makes sense since shortly after this, Roger Stern would go on to write Spider-Man. So Cap heads off, and he's heading over to England, and he's reminiscing about his days in the war with his buddies, the Invaders. And you can see here, you got the Human Torch, Submariner, Spitfire, Bucky, Union Jack, all the various villains they fought. This is all stuff that was done during the Invaders series. You can see all that in that book. And he goes, and in the end, our efforts help bring about the downfall of the madman Hitler and his twisted Third Reich. So it's like he's really thinking, like, going back to England after all this time, and it's bringing back all the memories of the war. So and that's going to play a part in all of this. So he gets out, he goes through customs, and to bypass customs, he just flashes the Avengers ID, and it's just right on through, sir. I love that. That's again a little fun thing, a little thing you would think about when you're doing stuff like this. This is the kind of attention to detail that you really want to see in a book like this, is where they can take a mundane situation that you'd have to face, like going through customs, and then finding a funny way around it for the superhero, which again, the Avengers ID card is a perfect way to do that. Love that. So then he finally shows up at Falworth Manor, and he meets up with Jacqueline, formerly Spitfire, and see at first it's all lovey-dovey. Hey, it's been great. He tells him what happened. I was in suspended animation. And she said, I read all about it, and she's like, is something wrong? He's like, no, it's just that I'm a mess. Let me clean up, and then we'll talk. I was younger than he was, and now I'm older. So much older. I mean, so again, I love this too. Just great character building moments. She remembers him just as he is now. He's the same. He hasn't changed. Whereas she is, where she at the time during the war was younger than Cap was, and now she's much older than he is. And it's a jarring thing. I like that wasn't sidestepped. So they start to reminisce about some old times. She tells him how after her father, who was the Union Jack, who got sidelined because he was crippled during a battle with Baron Blood. Her husband took up the role. Her brother Brian took up the role as the second Union Jack, but he died in 1953. And so then he goes, well, that's why I'm here to help. And he goes, Cable, I sent no cable. And then he finds out that it was Lord Falsworth, the original Union Jack, who sent the cable. And he tells him the reason I brought you out here is there's deadly business. There's been a series of murders in the area. Recently, the police calling the murderer the Slasher. But I believe that he is our old wartime foe, Baron Blood. And of course, Spitfire doesn't believe him. And, he tells her, no, he is undead. It's him. I know it. He goes, I told you before, the constable thinks the Slasher is some lunatic, one who perhaps thinks he's a vampire. And he goes, poppycock. Blood is a master of trickery. He's fooled them somehow. I can feel it in my bones. So he's completely convinced that the foe is that the Slasher is actually Baron Blood. And so Cap agrees to look into it for him, and he thanks him for it. She tries to apologize for him, saying that he's become senile, and he goes, he doesn't believe that. He goes, don't ever say that. He may be old and enfeebled, but I saw the look in those eyes. His mind is still as sharp and clear as the days when he was Union Jack. And so he's going to do this for him out of respect to their camaraderie of the past. And so Cap goes and he meets with the doctor who we saw in the interview. You saw check on the woman who died at the very beginning, and he talks to him. He's talked about what the story is. He goes, I can't say I recognize that, but I have a feeling before. I understand that you've inspected the Slasher victims, and he tells him, yeah, it's grisly business. Obviously the work of a sick mind. And then Cap goes, obviously, but isn't there a possibility that it could also be the work of a vampire? And then suddenly the doctor just snaps on him. How dare you mention that such superstitious claptrap in my presence? Get out of here. And he throws him out. Cap is a little stymied, and then the constable tells him that a while back, people believe there was a vampire scare, and they thought the doctor was the vampire, and he tried to burn his house down, and his daughter ended up dying in the fire, and he got burned, which is why you see him looking scarred. And Cap's so like, I understand the doctor's reaction, but vampires do exist. My battle with Baron Blood during the war proved that to me all too well. If Dr. Cromwell won't help me, I'll just have to look elsewhere. So then they head off to the Tower of London, where Baron Blood's body is supposedly stored, as you can see, in a room filled with, religious iconography and garlic to try to keep him from ever coming back. And then they open it up, and it looks like he's there, but Cap, you're wrong, Inspector, dead wrong. He pulls out the stake, which should bring him back to life. He goes, we have nothing to fear from this body, Inspector. This isn't a vampire. This isn't even the skeleton of a man. And then it turns out that no, it's a skeleton of a woman who's been dead for about 12 years. So for over a decade now, Baron Blood has been out and about. And so Cap goes, that he's going to head back to the manor to let them know and to keep him informed if the police learn anything. He goes, if Baron Blood is this slasher character, then I'm sure he'll strike before long. Of course, Blood could have left for some remote corner of the world, but I doubt that very much. He's too tied to this area. And then Cap heads in, and he sees that Spitfire is arguing with someone. It turns out to be her son Kenny and his friend Joey. Joey's a little starstruck here, meeting Captain America, and then he comes in and he starts talking to Lord Falsworth, and he tells him that did you learn anything? He goes, nothing for certain about the identity of the slasher, but you were right. Baron Blood is on the loose, and he's like, I knew it. We gotta do something. We have to destroy him for all time, And Cap says, don't worry, we'll do that. So they go to talk about what they're going to do, planning what to do. Whatever the case, I'm willing to stay here until we get to the bottom of this, and I promise you, we will find Baron Blood and we will stop him. And then, he feels very grateful. And so then night falls on the manor. And then I like this, again, there's another page I like right here, where we finally see Baron Blood for the first time. And I love his design. It's got more in common with Nosferatu than it does, say, with like Dracula. Dracula is very sexy vampire. He's like looks very regal, very very cordial, very upper class, that kind of a thing. Whereas Nosferatu, as we all know, is like a very ugly, evil looking vampire, and that's how they paint Baron Blood. I like that they do that. And you can see right here, he's going to strike. He goes creeping over the corner of the stone man. The vampire skitters down the building head first, like some huge, hideous spider, until he comes to an opened window. He pauses, an awful, barely audible laugh grasping in his throat. Slowly, the grotesque figure slides into the room, inching ever closer to his intended target. And that's what he says. He goes, just as I thought, Captain America has been given the same guest room he used during World War II. The Falsworth and their panache for sentimentality have doomed the Yankee. One swift snap of the neck, and Captain America will no longer be a problem for anyone. And I just it looks like it's curtains for good old Cap, but of course we know that's not going to be the case. And I'm not going to be that easy a victim. Blood just bang right in the face with his shield. I love that. Your hatred for your former family always was your weak spot, Blood. Once I learned that you were free, I knew you'd come back here sooner or later. I'd hoped that you'd find me more of a challenging target than your aged brother or Jackie. Looks like I was right. But then he just hits him, and you can see that the power of the vampire just knocks him right through the door. I was careless. I had to keep reminding myself that Blood's strength is supernatural in nature. He's so much stronger than he looks. Because you can see he doesn't look like he'd be very strong, and yet he's much stronger than even Cap is. So he's definitely a credible threat. So he comes out to kill him. And of course, Cap was ready. He had some garlic hidden under his shield, and he brings it out. He goes, I've been prepared for you, Baron. This loop of garlic should be enough to slow down the mightiest vampire. And it just, it does. You've got a lot of gall talking about repugnance, Blood. What about those slasher murders? Those 3 innocent women? Don't you have any conscience at all? And conscience is for lesser beings. And then he turns to Mist, and then reappears and hits him from behind. The battle continues. You're a bold man, Captain, but you are only a man, whereas I am a scion of Dracula, the Lord of Vampires. Mine is the power. So he thinks so. So he calls on the children of the night, so you can see all these rats start to surround the manor house. this wakes up Spitfire and her son. The battle continues. You cannot resist the full strength of the vampire. And he's right. For all of Blood's power, he can still be taken. He can still be taken by surprise. And with that knowledge of leverage, can use his strength against him. And so he uses it to flip him. It brings him into Lord Falsworth's room, and then that's when the vampire really gets tricky. Leaping to his feet, Baron Blood ignores the feeble gasp of his mortal brother, turning instead towards Captain America, his eyes ablaze in the semi-darkness. And he goes, "I tire of this battle, Captain. There is no need for me to waste time in useless combat when my hypnotic powers can halt you in your tracks." And so then Cap is mesmerized. And then we come to the conclusion here. "Yes, this is much better. You shall just stand here, enthralled and helpless, and then you shall die. And 3 days hence you shall arise to your eternal damnation as a vampire." And it's like, just as Spitfire shows up, it looks like it's all over for Cap. What a great cliffhanger ending! And I love just look at the detail. Look at the detail in this artwork by Rubenstein and Byrne. I mean, that's just incredible work. I mean, just the figure work, the angle, the camera angle that was chosen, the expression on Cap's face of just total vacancy, the evil of the vampire. It just all plays so well. This is an excellent issue, and I really liked it because you got to see some of Cap's history, some of his history with others. We got to, brought back in like Spitfire and was it Union Jack into the story, even though they're older now. But I like that they brought them in. This is a story that is not just about just merely about a vampire. It's about the war. It's about family. It's about duty and honor. All these great things. And I just really enjoyed this story so much. I just I can't tell you how great this is. This is probably one of my favorite vampire tales in comics. Is this 2-part storyline? This was part 1. It continues, you can see, into part 2 with the faithful conclusion. These 2 issues of Cap are awesome. Definitely you should check them out if you love vampires, if you love war, if you love great superhero stuff. This has it all. This is definitely the one for you. I can't recommend this one highly enough. I mean, this is probably one of my top 10 favorite Captain America stories. And I don't think you can go wrong with this. You got such great work from Stern and Byrne, and this is towards the end of their run. So like there wasn't very many issues after this. They were still together on this run. So it's definitely, the high point to me is this story. Just some great action with Cap fighting a vampire. Just the great angles that are used, the creepy, eerie vibes that are used. I mean, the shot here of him upside down, looking through the window, the shading on the face, the fangs. I mean, it's beautifully done. But then again, it is John Byrne, and you've come to expect such greatness from a guy like that. But again, there's so much here. The story of the doctor, and just a great character moment like this. Old friends reminiscing, talking about old times. You get of course your little caption here with your reference to where the stories can be found, and I just love this. It really helps to well balance the character of Steve Rogers. He's not just Captain America. He's not just a soldier. He's also a human being too. You saw that earlier in the story here. With Bernie, his whole personal life. I like that we got some personal life for Captain America because that's something I've noticed. Some writers are pretty hard bound in trying to do a personal life for Captain America, but Stern was not. And again, like I said, just this scene right here. This to me, this is Captain America. This is what it's all about right here. The honor, the dignity, the humanity, just the living embodiment of America, and I just love this. He's in the face of danger and yet he fears nothing. That to me is great. Like I said, this is definitely one of my favorite Cap stories of all time. You'd be hard pressed to find something better than this. Stern and Byrne at the top of their game. This is Byrne, I think, shortly after he had left the X-Men, and this is Stern before he goes over to Spider-Man. So, I mean, it's a great run. It was a very short run. It only lasted about 10 issues, I think, was the run that they did together. A very short run, but a very significant one. And again, this story, this 2-parter, 253 and 254, with Baron Blood probably one of the best stories they did together. So yeah, definitely check this one out. You could probably get a good copy of this book, high grade, 10 to 12 bucks, shouldn't break your bank. And so to get the two set, probably like 25 bucks to get the two. And again, just one of the best Cap stories, I ever read. And again, Stern and Byrne on fire, just doing what they do. And it's definitely one it's worthy of anybody's respect and attention. So there you go, Captain America 253, a great story with Captain America, wartime stuff, vampires, horror and action and adventure and all that great stuff. So yeah, definitely one that you want to check out. And that'll about do it for this one. I have some more stuff coming up as I always do here, so you definitely want to make sure not to miss any of it. As for what the next one will be, well, it's going to be the one that's almost on Halloween. So like I said, I've done so many, horror characters. Who's possibly left to do? Well, we're going to find out, because the next one I think is probably going to be the biggest one yet. So you definitely don't want to miss on that. So I thank you all again for joining me today, and please drop any comments down there you have about the issue. I'd love to hear what you folks think. Do you think I'm on the track here? Did you like Cap fighting a vampire? Was that kind of cool? Or do you think it was too hokey? Would you rather just seen Cap doing the usual shtick in New York City? Let me know. Drop some comments down there. Let me hear what you got to say. And I will be back again with some more stuff very soon. And until next time, take care.